What if you could take out the money that you're paying rent or mortgage every month and put that into your savings account? I'm about to share with you the biggest loophole in real estate investing. It allows you to invest with very little money down and eliminate your biggest expense monthly. Want to know the not so secret strategy you can use to get paid to live? It's called house hacking. I'm going to share with you a couple of tips and tricks today on how you can get your first house hack, manage it the right way, and then reinvest it into your second. My name's Noah Bacon. I'm the community manager with Bigger Pockets. I'm an active house hacker, and I'm here to share a couple of tips with you on how to house hack. So let's go. Okay, so why the heck would you house hack? It's a really amazing investment real estate strategy. There's so many loopholes, so many different things that you'll see at the end of the year, end of 5 years, 10 years, that you'll look back and be like, wow, that was really, really great benefit. The biggest benefit, obviously, to house hacking, if we're going to take the term and dissect it backwards, you're hacking your primary residence, turning it into an investment property. So you're actually going to be qualifying this property as a primary residence. That barrier to entry could be massive on an investment property. As buying an investment, you could be putting down 25%. On a primary residence, you can put 0 down if you're FHA, active military, or retired military, 3.5% down for FHA, which is a great program for a first-time home buyer. It's a government-backed program loan, 3.5 down, really low down payment. Or you can go conventional route where you can put, I've heard as low as 3, but typically around 5 to 10% that you can put down on a primary residence. So again, looking at an investment where your 20 to 25% could be $100,000, you take that, you cut it really, really small, and you're only putting 3.5%, 5% down, your barrier to entry is so much smaller, and you're able to buy that house or buy that multifamily property. So that's, to me, one of the biggest benefits is the financing up front. I know a lot of us aren't going to be able to spend the decades or years to save that down payment for an investment. So how are we going to do it? We're going to use this really, really cool strategy to rent out our primary residence and call it an investment property. This is going to be a really, really great engine for you because your greatest expense monthly should probably be your mortgage or your rent. Your housing expense is typically your biggest expense. If you're able to cut that in half, that's amazing. If you're able to cut it out, that is unbelievable. If you're able to cash flow, you'll be able to have 1 or 2 properties after 1 or 2 years. You're going to be flying high if you're cash flowing right away. At the end of the year, you're going to have really great tax benefits. You're going to have your tenants paying down your mortgage. You have interest on that mortgage, so you're able to write that off at the end of the year. The property itself, you're also able to depreciate because it is an investment property. It is your primary, but also an investment property. So you should be able to offset the depreciation tax, get a great savings at the end of the year. And then you're also building equity in the property. So I know it sounds like house hacking is a sure-proof thing. Nothing can go wrong, but there are a couple things I want you to think about that you may be already thinking about negatively currently. The first thing is lack of privacy and having roommates. The second one being the difficulty finding those roommates. And then the third being, I feel like I'm a college kid again, or I'm potentially taking a step back in life. And so there's 5 steps that I'd really like to go through on how to mitigate those fears and then really set you up for success and get you into that second house hack, hopefully after the first one here. First step of house hacking to me is going to be setting your budget. You're going to obviously be taking out a mortgage. If you're going to be putting lower money down up front, your mortgage is obviously going to be higher. So you need to think about a couple of things here to offset that mortgage. Renting out your rooms is going to be really, really important to obviously seeing that budget, but the lender won't qualify you for a mortgage that you won't be able to withstand without your income or have a cosigner. So you really need to make sure without any tenants, you can qualify to take this property on. I like to look 90 days of vacancy when I buy my first property, just totally expecting I'm going to totally fumble. I'm not going to have anybody move in for the first 90 days. This is really conservative approach, but it'll have you at least build up a reserve right away to have a rainy day. So set your budget is crucial because you could potentially have more money going out each month than you do have coming in if you're not going to have any tenants in there. So you really, really need to make sure you have either reserves or you have a plan in your first 90 days to set up these tenants. So step number 2 is going to be choosing the right property. And I know one of the biggest concerns is privacy or having roommates. So there's 2 different ways of choosing your property. So the first strategy will be house hacking a single family home. This will provide you the least amount of privacy. This could also potentially give you the most opportunity for cash flow and potentially your best bet of having the best cash on cash or ROI at the end of the day. In a single family, you're going to have the least amount of privacy. You're going to have your own private bedroom. You could be in a basement. That would be awesome. Or you could be in a bedroom just right across the hall from somebody else. This is going to be a smaller mortgage, obviously. You're going to have less property to take care of. The entry point will be a little bit lower. And then your mortgage will obviously be lower at that. So if you're able to get in that lower price point with the lower mortgage, renting out 1 or 2 rooms could potentially make you offset or cash flow in that single family. But again, your trade trade-off is going to be privacy, and you're going to be living with that roommate. So think about laundry, think about being in your kitchen, think about potentially sharing a bathroom if you are in a 2-in-1. So there's a lot of things you need to think about there to really maximize your cash flow, but also give up some of your privacy in that location. If you don't like to give up your privacy, like me, and you want to look for something bigger, look for a small multifamily home. This is going to be a 2 to 4 unit. The typical thing that we see is the side-by-side duplex, where you have your private unit and then your tenant has a private unit. The price point will probably be a little bit higher for this. Your mortgage will potentially be a little bit higher for this, but you do get your privacy, you do get the mortgage offset, and you get all these great benefits at the end of the year. So to me, I think that would be the really great approach for you to take if you want to have your own bathroom. You potentially would have a shared laundry room if you're in a small multifamily building, unless it's in unit, of course. So these concerns can offset, but your cash flow could potentially be a little bit lower as well. Like I said, the price point will be higher, your mortgage will potentially be higher, and in these small multifamily units, you probably will be looking at rent from about $1,000 and up to a 2-bedroom maximum, probably up to like $1,600. And I know it's going to vary on location, region, but you really have to think about that when you're setting your budget, and then choosing the right property is step number 2. So a lot of these things are going to funnel into each other. And we're going to get right into step number 3 here, because it's going to be so crucial to 1 and 2. It's running the numbers. You're not going to be able to qualify for a property without a lender, without an agent. And if you don't have that debt to income ratio, you're probably going to need a cosigner potentially. When you're running your numbers, I would really highly recommend you look at your property with the first 90 days being vacant. It's going to be your primary residence. It's an investment property, but you're going to need those first 90 days to learn how to be a landlord. If you haven't done it up front, which I really hope you have, but you're going to need to learn a couple of things in the property. You're going to need to get to know the property, get to know the market, what the rental rates are. So there's a lot of different things you need to consider. And you're also paying a mortgage the whole time. So try to shorten that learning curve before you get in. But while you're in, you need to learn how to be a landlord. You need to learn how to be a property manager. And you're also going to need to, unfortunately, learn to be a tenant again if you're not a tenant currently. This is something that is part of house hacking. You're going to be giving up your privacy. So I know, again, some of the fear is, I don't want to give that up. I don't want to give up my privacy. How is this going to take me far ahead? Step number 4 is really, really going to mitigate a lot of that stress and hopefully mitigate a lot of your pressure getting out at the end. Okay, so step number 4 is screen tenants thoroughly. As a private landlord, you have all the power to set your guidelines. You need to be consistent with those guidelines, though. So what I like to do, I'm very strict with my guidelines. I require a strict credit score, but I also require an in-person showing. I'm not somebody who I'm going to rent to my friends or family typically. I don't like to mix friendship with business. So I'm going to look for a private roommate. I'm going to look for somebody that's probably on Facebook, on Zillow, things like that. Out in the world, that's just somebody I don't know. I need to get to know this person. They're going to be living with me. They're going to be in my house. This is a crazy concept. I can't have some crazy person living with me. I think a FaceTime is really important, you can do your background check, get to know them over the phone. You're not really going to get to know somebody unless they're, face to face with you. I'm a firm believer in having that in-person interaction before allowing them to rent from you. Step number 5, reinvest and expand. Personally, I would reinvest all the cash flow that I had on top coming out of my property. So if you can really separate your business from your lifestyle, if you get $100 cash flow, reinvest that right into the property. Take 5% off and put that into CapEx. You have to be very conservative with running your numbers, going back to step 3. But when you run these numbers, you should be at the end of the month, every single month, be putting in some money back into your portfolio, putting some money back into the property so it's functional. Obviously, you don't want to be managing a rundown property with your tenants, with the tax benefits, and then with the equity that you're building. You're going to be able to tap into property number 1 and potentially use some of the equity that you've built and put it right into property number 2. Doing this process, rinse and repeat. If you're able to offset your debt to income ratio, you're going to be able to get into property number 2 again with that 5, 3.5, potentially 0 down payment if you are military again. But you're able to rinse and repeat this process with a very low down payment as long as your debt to income ratio is fine. And you're going to be able to show that by moving out of your property, turning it into a rental. And there's different ways you can do that. You can look at short-term rental if your guidelines allow you. You can look at a midterm rental, 6-month lease, or you can look at probably your most conservative play is going to be a long-term rental where it'll be a 12, maybe a 24-month lease if you're going to look for a 2-year. But that 12-month lease, if you're able to get out of property number 1 and you see that 12-month is going to be cash flowing or offset that mortgage, you have a gold mine, you have a home run. I house hack right now, getting over that barrier to entry of 20 to 25% is really scary. So if you're able to keep putting 5% down, calling your primary residence an investment property, Imagine in the 30 years when those are paid off, you're going to have 5 to 6 properties paid off. That's a really great retirement. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the Bigger Pockets channel for more videos just like this. If you have any questions or want to share more on house hacking experience, please drop them in the comments below. And if you want to connect with me further, please head over to the Bigger Pockets forums. I would love to connect with you on there. Everybody have a great day.